Hi guys, I'm doing a deep dive into the Australian elections upcoming in about 2 weeks' time. So just some quick facts about the Aussie elections. So voting is every 3 years in Australia here. Any Australian citizens over 18 must vote. It's compulsory or you will be fined. This year's 2022 elections are happening on the 21st of May. Early voting begins on the 9th of May. So it's already opened for early voting. So you can turn up to one of the voting sites around the country in your local area to vote in person. And there's also an option to vote via the post. So you can post your ballots back to the AEC, which is the Australian Elections Commission. And the ballots have to arrive to the AEC by the 18th of May. So you can check your electorate details at the AEC website, which is aec.gov.au/electorate. There is a AEC helpline on a phone if you need to ring up someone to ask about anything voting related. The toll-free number is 132-326. If English is a second language to you, you can read a translated guide in your own language. So you can find that also on the AEC website under translated on that link on the PowerPoint there. And you can also practice your voting on the AEC website. Under /practice, there's a link there. You can actually simulate a ballot paper and do it on the screen as you would. So on the day of voting, you go to the polling booth. You'll see a voting official, clarify your name and address, and then they'll mark you off the electoral roll. They'll give you some ballot papers and you're supposed to read the voting instructions provided. You complete the ballot papers and then you put it in the ballot box. So how to vote in the Aussie elections. So in Australia here, it's a preferential voting system. So how that works is you're given two ballot papers, one green, one white. Now the green ballot paper is voting for your local electorate rep into the House of Representatives in Parliament. Your white ballot paper is voting for the rep to represent your state senate. The winner to form the new government is the party with the most seats in the House of Representatives. So House of Reps, the green ballot paper, this is how you're supposed to vote on that paper. You number your candidates from 1 to X number, 1 being your most preferred candidate, and then you grade it to the least. For the white ballot paper, voting for the Senate rep, there are two options. So above the line voting is where you are voting for specific party candidates. So you rank number 1 to 6 in preferential order, with 1 being your most preferred candidate down to the 6th, which is your least preferred candidate. And the other option is to vote below the line. So that is when you, or independent candidate, which is not affiliated with any party. And then you can vote by ranking them from number 1 to number 12 in that order. So 1 being your favorite, your most preferred, and 12 being your least preferred. So what's the equation here? To form a majority government, a party needs over 150 out of 300 seats in parliament. Minority government, but they don't have a majority, so they have less than 150 seats out of 300 in parliament, and in that case they form a minority government. So that means they have to go into coalition with some minor parties or independent reps to form the support needed to run a government. So the latest Roy Morgan electoral polls have ALP, which is Australian Labor Party, at 33% support. LNP, which is Liberal National Party, at 31.5% support, and there's 35.5% neutral. So they're either undecided, no opinion, or voting for a minor party. So voting intentions ahead of the election, ALP is leading in 4 out of 6 states. So in WA, SA, NSW, and VIC, they are leading. So there's a strong lead for the ALP in South Australia and Victoria. LNP is leading in QLD and TAS, so Queensland, Tasmania. And the other two states where ALP is leading, Western Australia and New South Wales, it's pretty much neck and neck with ALP slightly ahead in the polls. So here's some statistics from the last 3 years since the last elections. Now, in the two-party preferred polls, you see back in 2019 when LNP, the Liberals, won the elections, support was around 51.5% of all voters, and ALP was around 48.5%. And you can see the trends through the COVID crisis and through all the lockdowns down to the recent times where it shows RBA, Reserve Bank Australia, raising interest rates for the first time in over a decade. Now you can see that Labor's support, the red line, has been steadily climbing since last year, and it's now sitting at around 54.5%. Liberals have dropped away, the blue line. They're currently sitting about 45.5% support. Female voters have traditionally been more Labor supporters. As you can see, over the 3 years, the red line has pretty much been over 50%. So ladies like to vote Labor. So currently ALP support for lady voters, female voters, is around 58%. LNP, which is the blue line, female voters support is only 42%. If we go into the same period for the male voters, it's a lot more even. So back in the 2019 elections 3 years ago, LNP was 52.5%, ALP 47.5%. Currently, Labor slightly ahead in the male voters, 51%, and Liberal supporters 49%. So it's pretty much 50-50 for the men. For females, it's always been more Labor leaning. Just so some policies and statistics. So these stats are from the official sources, Australian Bureau of Statistics. The website is on the PowerPoint there. Now, we'll just go through the two main parties' policies. ALP, Labor, centre left wing. From the Australian Bureau of Stats, they have traditionally had a high unemployment rate. So it was 5.7% back in September 2013 when they were last in power. LNP, centre right wing, as you can see, is lower unemployment. It's currently at 4% as of March. Labor, a higher small business tax rate, 30% when they were in power. LNP, lower small business tax rate, 25%. And you can see the cross comparisons between the amount of income tax you pay. So for, under ALP, a person on a 90 grand income was paying about 21 grand or $21,000 worth of tax in a year. Under LNP, the average person on a 90 grand income bracket was only paying $18,217 in tax, basically paying around $3,000 less tax per year under LNP. Labor's traditionally been more left-leaning, meaning they tend to give more support for beneficiaries and welfare. LNP is more centre-right leaning, usually less support for beneficiaries and welfare, but stats have shown that they have actually have increased funding in state services. So in the areas of health, aged care, schools, and defence. So some official stats. Defence spending, Labor spent 1.56% of GDP back in 2013 towards defence. The Liberals spent 2%. Labor opened 17 detention centres for illegal immigration. LNP closed 19. Hospital funding, Labor 13.3 billion back in 2013. Currently LNP 27.2 billion towards hospitals. Medicare bulk bill funding rates for GPs under ALP back in 2013 was 82.2% compared to 88.8% under the LNP. Aged care funding was also less for Labor, 13.3 billion back in 2013. Currently, LNP spent 29.8 billion on aged care funding. And schools funding, Labor spent less, 13.7 billion back in 2014 compared to 25.3 billion in the current year, 2022, under LNP. So that's just some statistics and policies in a nutshell. Welcome to comment, like, share, and subscribe if you find this content helpful. Hopefully that gives you guys an insight to how to vote, and also what the various political parties, policies and stance and some stats, and comparing how they performed in government. So just remember that on voting day, there are two ballot papers, one green, one white. Green is voting for the House of Reps, white is voting for the Senate rep. So you have to fill in both, and you have to rank from number 1 to number 6 or number 12, depending on what the ballot paper is, in descending order. So number 1 being your favorite candidate, and the last number being your least favorite preferred candidate. So that's all from me, DG Ninja. You guys have a great rest of the week. Don't forget to vote by 21st of May. Voting is now open since the 9th of May. So pop into your local voting booth and do your duties, because it's compulsory to vote for all Australian citizens over the age of 18. So there you have it, guys. Read up on the stats, read up on the policies, make up your minds about who you want best in government. Obviously, I'm not affiliated with any party or politics. I'm just giving you the facts, so you guys decide for yourselves. Basically, whoever goes into government is pretty much a devil. It's a case of who's the least of the two devils. No politicians good. So it's about voting to protect our rights and our social freedoms. And yeah, just exercise your vote, have your say in who gets into government. But it's pretty much a two-horse race, so there's not much choice. You have a red or you have a blue. They are minor parties, but they don't really stand a chance in having too much of a say in Parliament. But it doesn't mean you can't support them, right? So there you have it, guys. Stay safe out there. Remember to vote next 2 weeks. Peace out till next time, guys.